Coronation Street tease that ABI has risked everything to be with Carl. ABI Richardson woke before dawn, the dim glow of the bedside lamp casting long shadows across the room. Outside, the mist curled around the cobbled terraces of Weatherfield like pale fingers, reluctant to release the secrets of the night. She lay still for a moment, listening to the gentle hum of the central heating and the distant rumble of Kevin's breathing, the deep, rhythmic rise and fall that she had come to associate with comfort and safety. But today, that comfort felt tenuous, threatened by a new presence in their lives, Carl Woodall. Carl arrived in Weatherfield under the pretense of helping with some routine business at his sister-in-law's garage. His easy confidence and boyish grin had charmed the locals from the first moment he stepped through the door of Kevin's workshop. ABI recalled the first time she saw him. His hair a tousled frame around striking blue eyes, a casual grin revealing just a flash of mischief. He was everything Kevin was not, young, vibrant, unburdened by illness, and brimming with promise. And ABI, despite herself, had felt that spark ignite within her. Kevin and ABI's marriage had weathered storms before. They had built a life together out of grit and laughter, 2 children, morning chaos, school runs, and the safe cocoon of their modest home. So when Kevin suddenly fell ill, diagnosed with a rare form of lymphoma, ABI had thrown herself into caring for him. She had sat by his side through chemotherapy sessions, held his hand as he trembled with fear, and whispered reassurances in the sterile hospital corridors. It was during those long nights at the hospital that Carl had appeared, offering to drive her home, sharing jokes to lighten the mood, and listening, truly listening, to her fears. At first, ABI chided herself for the attention she craved from Carl. How easily she leaned on his shoulder, letting his boyish banter distract her from the pallor of Kevin's skin, the way he flinched at the slightest touch. She told herself it was merely friendship, that she needed someone free of hospital walls to remind her she still existed beyond the labels of caregiver and wife of a patient. But friendship, as ABI soon discovered, has its own seductive pull. When Carl casually suggested they take a walk by the canal after an especially brutal chemotherapy session, ABI felt a flicker of excitement she had not felt in months. They strolled under a canopy of willows, their reflections rippling in the water below. He told her about his childhood in Manchester, the way he and his siblings used to race go-karts down the back streets, the dreams he once had of running his own business. ABI found herself divulging the deepest corners of her heart. The guilt she carried for feeling bored by Kevin's condition, the fear that she could not save him, and the secret longing for something, anything, that felt alive. It was not long before ABI realized the dangerous territory she was entering. She caught herself lingering on Carl's words, playing them back in her mind during the endless hours of waiting rooms. She began to notice how her pulse quickened when his hand brushed hers, how her chest tightened at the thought of him out of her sight. Yet, the weight of Kevin's illness pressed down on her, making her feel trapped. Kevin's cancer had consumed their world, leaving little room for sunlight or laughter. Carl, with his bright eyes and easy laughter, seemed to offer a glimpse of a life untainted by disease. Meanwhile, Kevin fought his own battles. He was no stranger to vulnerability. Diagnosed just weeks after his 42nd birthday, the news had hit him like a freight train. He had lied low at first, refusing to accept the diagnosis, determined that he would beat it without involving anyone else. But as the chemotherapy sessions took their toll, hair falling out in clumps, nights spent racked with pain, he realized he could not carry the burden alone. He turned to Tyrone, his oldest friend, and confessed everything. Tyrone's face had crumpled with grief and anger, grief for his friend's suffering, anger at Kevin's refusal to share the truth with ABI. "Kev," Tyrone had said, his voice raw, "you can't keep this from her. She's your wife. She deserves to know what's happening." But Kevin shook his head stubbornly. "I'm fine, Tyrone. I don't want to scare her. The words sounded hollow even to Kevin's own ears. Deep down, he feared he would become a liability, a burden that would drag ABI down. Carl's arrival only compounded Kevin's insecurity. He watched from behind the workshop windows as Carl and ABI laughed together over a cup of coffee. He noticed the way ABI's eyes softened when Carl played with their youngest, Lily, or the way she leaned in close when Carl whispered something for her ears only. Each sight stabbed at Kevin's heart, fueling a growing conviction that he was losing ABI. The cancer had rendered him weak, diminished. Carl represented everything Kevin was not. Driven by jealousy and fear, Kevin began to conceal the extent of his illness. He told ABI that another chemotherapy session had been postponed, when in fact he had endured it alone, his tears wiped away by hospital staff. He claimed he felt better than ever to encourage her, to keep her tethered. But each lie tangled into another, creating a web that threatened to ensnare them all. Tyrone, never one to stay silent, confronted Kevin one rainy afternoon outside the Rovers' return. Raindrops slid down the brim of their flat caps as Tyrone's voice rose in frustration. Kev, you're killing yourself, and you're killing your marriage. You think ABI won't find out? She'll see through it. Kevin clenched his fists. Leave it out, Tyrone. You don't understand. Understand? Tyrone scoffed. I've lost people I love. I know what it's like to be helpless. But you're not alone, mate. You're pushing her away. Kevin's eyes burned with unshed tears. What do you want from me? To be honest, Tyrone said softly. Admit the truth to ABI. Before Carl does it for you. Inside, ABI was torn between loyalty and longing. She felt a pang of guilt every time she looked at Kevin, frail and pale, and yet a thrill when Carl's presence warmed her side of the sofa. One evening, as she tucked their children into bed, she replayed Carl's parting words. I'm here for you, ABI. No matter what. She wondered if her heart could love two men at once, one who had been her rock in sickness, and another who made her feel alive. The turning point came on a blustery afternoon, when Carl found Kevin in the garage office, staring blankly at medical bills strewn across the desk. Carl leaned in, concern etched on his face. Kev, come on, mate. Speak up. You look like you've seen a ghost. Kevin's jaw tightened. It's nothing. But Carl persisted. I know you. You're not, well. Kevin's stoicism cracked. He slapped a hand on the paperwork. Just mind your own business, Carl. Yet, as Carl opened the office door to leave, he paused and said, Be careful, Kev. Don't do anything you'll regret. That night, ABI sat beside Kevin on their sofa, the living room silent except for the hum of the television. Kevin reached for her hand, the skin on his fingers thin and fragile. ABI, he whispered, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, but before he could speak, Abby's phone buzzed. A text from Carl flashed on the screen. Can't stop thinking about you. We need to talk. ABI looked at Kevin, guilt rippling across her features. She left the room to reply. When Abigail Richardson returned, she caught Kevin's eyes and saw the flicker of doubt there. She opened her mouth to speak, but hesitated, the weight of her own indecision choking her words. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the window panes as though urging her to choose. Meanwhile, in corridors of power behind the scenes, actor Howard spoke candidly about Carl's motivations. In a recent interview, he mused on whether Carl was truly horrified by Kevin's deception or simply taking the upper hand. Howard suggested that, if the roles were reversed, Carl might have lied just as Kevin did. This insight cast a new light on Carl's character. He was not merely a seducer, but a calculating risk-taker, who thrived on unpredictability. The thrill of the chase, Howard explained, was intoxicating for Carl, the excitement, the fear, the knowledge that every glance and every whisper was loaded with danger. Carl himself reveled in that danger. He confessed to a friend in the garage that the most exhilarating part of the affair was the secrecy, the stolen moments in shadowed corners, the risk of being discovered, the possibility that the entire world could collapse if someone walked in at the wrong time. ABI's hesitation, her flickers of remorse, only heightened his desire. Yet Howard warned that such intensity could not last. When the danger subsided, when Kevin's health stabilized, Carl might grow bored and move on. He could pack his bags, leave Weatherfield, and ABI would be left to pick up the pieces: children, marriage, reputation. And ABI, caught between love and duty, between passion and promise, stood at a crossroads. She remembered the early days with Kevin, the first time he held her hand, the laughter they shared over burnt dinners, the way he had looked at her when she said yes at the registry office. She thought of their children, safe in their beds, dreaming of heroes and happy endings. She thought of Kevin's fragile smile, the way he tried to reassure her even on his worst days. Could she condemn him to heartbreak by pursuing Carl? Or would she deny herself the chance at feeling truly alive again? A storm raged outside as ABI climbed the stairs to their bedroom. She paused halfway, phone in hand, Carl's last message lingering on the screen. She wiped her eyes, her reflection in the mirror fragmented by the dim light. There, she saw a woman torn in two, the devoted wife tending to her dying husband, and the uncertain soul longing for more than survival. Kevin lay propped up on pillows, the blanket drawn to his chin. When he looked up and saw ABI's face, his brow furrowed with concern. "Everything okay?" she whispered. He reached a hand toward her, voice rough with emotion. "ABI. I love you." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. She sat beside him, heart pounding. "I love you too," she replied, though her mind raced with unspoken truths. Outside, the wind settled into an uneasy calm. Inside, the silence between them seemed to stretch across a chasm. ABI closed her eyes, tears slipping free. The choices ahead: tell Kevin the truth, end it with Carl, fight for her marriage, loomed large. She knew that the path she chose would shape the rest of her life, and the lives of two men who loved her in very different ways. As dawn broke once more over Weatherfield, ABI lay awake beside Kevin, the weight of her secret pressing down. Somewhere in the garage, Carl readied himself for another day, unwittingly inching closer to both triumph and ruin. And Tyrone, watching from the sidelines, prayed that his friend would find the courage to face the truth before it was too late. This was only the beginning of a story fraught with passion, deception, and the murky boundaries between love and loyalty, an intricate dance in which every step could lead to redemption or devastation. ABI pushed open the door to the garage late that evening, the faint scent of motor oil and engine coolant greeting her like an old friend. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. She spotted Carl hunched over his laptop at the small desk in the corner, fingers flying across the keyboard as he navigated spreadsheets of parts orders, and what looked like invoices from a certain Fiona Morley. Carl glanced up, his blue eyes brightening at the sight of her. "Hey," he said, closing the laptop with a soft click. "I've been trying to sort this out. Fiona's been late on payments again, and if she doesn't pay by tomorrow, we're in trouble." ABI folded her arms. "Kevin's worried about the bills piling up. I told him you were helping out, but I think he still feels useless." Carl stood and approached her, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "He shouldn't feel that way. He's done more than enough." His voice dropped to a softer register. "I just wish you'd let me help you both more." ABI inhaled sharply, the weight of his words pressing into her chest. "You've been incredible," she said, forcing a smile. "It's just Kevin hates feeling like a charity case. He keeps telling me he'll pay me back when he's better. Carl sighed and took her hand. Then let me pay you back. Let me show you I'm in this for the long haul. Her heart twinged at the earnestness in his plea. But at the same moment, her thoughts flicked to Kevin's hospital bed, the way he had clung to her hand when the doctor said the latest scans looked clear. He had finally believed he might beat the cancer. If he believed that, then perhaps it was time she believed him, too. The next morning, Kevin sat up straighter in the consultant's office than he had in months. Dr. Hammond's expression was animated, a spring back in her step, as she reviewed the chart. Remarkable, she said, tapping the screen. Your latest scans show no detectable signs of cancer cells. You're in remission. He exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding, tears welling in his eyes. Thank you, he whispered, looking at his wife in disbelief. ABI's cheeks were streaked with tears as she squeezed his hand, but Kevin noticed something else beneath her relief, an undercurrent of guilt, as though she felt she shouldn't allow herself to be happy. That afternoon, back at home, Kevin watched ABI from across the kitchen table. She hovered over a stack of envelopes, bills, insurance forms, invoices from the garage. He decided he would surprise her. He would take over the accounts for a while, give her a break. But before he could move, Tyrone burst through the back door, muddy trainers skidding to a halt. Kev. I heard the news. Remission. He clasped Kevin's shoulder with force. That's brilliant, mate. Kevin smiled, but Tyrone's brow furrowed as he glanced at ABI. You okay, ABI? She forced a grin. Just tired. Tyrone exchanged a look with Kevin, one of those looks that said he wasn't fooled. After a moment, he said quietly, give her some space. She's been through hell. Kevin frowned as Tyrone retreated. He slid out of his chair and crossed the kitchen to pull ABI into his arms. Let me help, he whispered. Let me do something real. She hesitated, then nodded, burying her face in his shoulder. I'm sorry, she murmured. For everything. Kevin held her tight. There's nothing to apologize for. We're in this together. But even as he said the words, he wondered if they were enough. Carl found ABI again, that evening at the Rover's return, seated in their usual corner booth with a steaming mug of tea. He slid in opposite her, setting his own drink on the table. She glanced at him and frowned. I've been thinking. Carl leaned forward. About us. She sighed. About you, mostly. He grinned, but her expression remained serious. I'm listening. ABI swallowed and looked into his eyes. I can't keep living like this. Sneaking around, pretending everything's normal. I love you, Carl. But I also love Kevin. He's my husband. He's beaten cancer. He's not the weak, suffering man I thought he was. Carl's gaze darkened, hurt flashing across his face. So what, this is over? Tears pricked ABI's eyes. I need time. Time to rebuild my marriage, to be a wife again, not a nurse. And you need to decide if you're here for me, or just for the thrill of the chase. Carl's jaw clenched. You know me better than that. I'm not about to walk away. She studied him for a long moment. Then prove it. That night, ABI returned home to find Kevin waiting in the living room, a single rose in his hand. He rose as she stepped inside. I want to start over, he said, voice steady. No more secrets. No more lies. I'm done hiding things from you. ABI felt her chest tighten. Kev. He handed her the rose. For every day you stayed by my side, I want to give you something back. She took the rose, her fingers brushing his. I want to believe you, she whispered. He nodded, stepping closer. I'll prove it. They embraced, but behind them, the silhouette of a man watching from the street flickered in the lamplight. Carl. In the days that followed, Carl threw himself into helping Fiona Morley solve her payment issues. He traced every invoice, confronted her at the door of her offices on King Street, and even advanced a small loan of his own money to keep the garage afloat. Fiona, a cool woman with sharp suits and sharper eyes, accepted his money with a tight smile, but Carl sensed she intended to slip out of town once the debt was paid. He cornered her in the back alley behind Underworld, slamming his palm against the brick wall. You promised, he growled. Weatherfield's my home now. Fiona's blue eyes glittered in the shadow. You should have known better than to trust me, Woodall. Before Carl could react, her phone beeped. She glanced at the screen, then met his eyes. You're right. I'll make the payment tonight. But understand this. I'm doing it because I don't want the police sniffing around. Carl narrowed his eyes, but allowed himself a brief nod. As Fiona strode off, he realized how badly he wanted Weatherfield to be his world, and ABI to be his partner in it. Meanwhile, Tyrone visited ABI with a plan. He brought over a photo album from their wedding day, each picture a testament to happier times. Look at these, he urged, flipping through pages. That's you two, in love. That's what you fight for. ABI traced a finger along her wedding veil, remembering the vows they had exchanged. Tyrone continued, Carl's great, I get it. But is not your home. Kevin is. You and him, this is your life. Tears welled again, but this time from clarity rather than confusion. I know, she said softly. I'm going to tell him everything. Tonight. That evening, ABI found Kevin in the garage office, poring over engine part catalogs. She took a deep breath and sat across from him. Kev, I need to tell you something. He looked up, hopeful. Anything? She closed her eyes. I had feelings for someone. Kevin's face fell, but he stayed quiet, waiting. It wasn't because you were weak, she continued. You weren't. It was. I was lost, and he found me. Tears rolled down Kevin's cheeks. Was it serious? ABI bit her lip. Yes. But I ended it. I chose you. He stared at the table, silence stretching between them until he finally lifted his eyes. Who? Carl. Kevin closed his eyes and exhaled slowly. When he opened them again, there was something fragile and new in his gaze. Thank you for telling me. ABI reached for his hand. I love you. He squeezed her fingers. I love you too. Then he paused. But there's one more secret. Her heart thumped. What? He swallowed. I lied about my treatments. I said I needed more chemo, but I didn't. I was scared you'd leave if I told you I was in remission. ABI stared, shock and relief warring on her face. Kev, you could have told me. He nodded, shame flooding him. I'm sorry. It was stupid. She rose and knelt beside him. No. I'm the one who lied, to you, to myself. But we're here now. They embraced, tears and laughter mingling as at last the truth lay bare. ABI and Kevin sat together on the edge of the office desk, drawing close as if to shield each other from a world that had, for too long, driven them apart. Tyrone appeared in the doorway, offering a congratulatory grin.